Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson Miller. Many areas of Jamaica, and specifically the Kingston metropolitan area, facing severe water shortages at this time. So acute was the problem that Prime Minister Andrew Holness made a statement in Parliament yesterday. Let's watch a little bit.
The NWC is required to supply an average of 55 million gallons of water per day to Kingston and St. Andrew. And this increases to over 60 million gallons during the dry season. On average, the dry season lasts for a combined 8 months of the year. Mr. Speaker, the NWC total installed water production capacity for Kingston and St. Andrew is 63 million gallons per day. However, current production levels from these systems are as follows. Constant Spring Water Treatment Plant, the capacity there is 18 million gallons per day, but it is only producing 8 million gallons per day currently. For the Mona Water Treatment Plant, the capacity is 16 million gallons per day, and it is now only producing 8.4 million gallons. For the Hope Water Treatment Plant, the capacity is 7 million gallons per day. It is now only producing 3.5 million gallons per day. For the Seaview Water Treatment Plant, its capacity is 2.6 million gallons, and it is producing at capacity 2.6 million gallons per day. It's the only facility that is producing at capacity. In terms of our wells, the Havendale, Forest Hills, Chancery Hall, Beverly Hills, Rennock Lodge, and Camp West, accumulated, they produce 7 million gallons per day. In addition, Mr. Speaker, the NWC is only able to transfer limited water through the Rio Cobre and the ferry systems at 6.1 million gallons per day due to the challenges with those transmission mains.
Okay, so my special one-on-one guest for the entire hour today is the President of the National Water Commission, Mark Barnett. Let me just remind you, you can tweet along with us. Our hashtag is TVJ All Angles, and you can tweet in as well some questions for the NWC President. Thank you so much for coming in. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
The Prime Minister said yesterday that we're looking at levels in Mona and Hermitage of 27%, 33%. How much worse is the NWC anticipating that this could get?
I have to answer in terms of the projections. So we usually take our cue from the meteorological office, and so far, based on what is projected, if we're just about near normal rainfall for the secondary season, we would see some improvement. However, we consider that not to be the ideal, because considering we have not got much rainfall in the latter part of last year, we would have wanted to see above normal rainfall, which would have ensured that there is adequate replenishment of the aquifers and the stream flows would have increased and continue for a longer period, which would ensure that we would be able to keep, in the event that we return to full capacity, a longer storage at full capacity, considering we would have increased stream flows for a longer period. If that doesn't happen, what we're expecting to see is a worsening situation for the corporate area for this period. We are anticipating, based on where we are now in the month of May, that hopefully in the latter weeks, and we are going in the last 2 weeks of the month, we would see some rainfall heading into June, which would be our secondary rainy period. And that is what we're hoping for. If that is not the case, then the situation is going to likely get worse.
How much worse?
It could get worse where we have to restrict water, not based on hours as it is, and I'll hasten to say it is not even as effective as it should be based on the limitations within the distribution system. It could get where we would be supplying water as we had done in about 2013, 2014, where we do alternate days per se. It could get to that stage.
Are we at crisis level now?
We're at crisis level, and I would like to contextualize it because once you're not able to supply water on a 24-hour basis and a section of your population, as we know it, is having longer periods without having water either through the mains or trucked, you're in a crisis situation. And so we understand that position. What we believe is the situation, it would get even worse in terms of a no rainfall for the rest of the month. So the crisis could get worse.
Okay. The PM said in Parliament yesterday that there are management issues at the Water Commission that need to be dealt with. Are you under pressure?
Personally, I am under pressure, yes, because there's no water in the mains, and normally from that perspective, you find that a lot of the responsibility, a lot of what needs to be done is actually rest on your shoulder. Whoever wears the crown, so to speak, carry the burden of the issues that exist within the commission. But that aside,
How much pressure?
So the objective right now is to ensure that whatever projects that we have in the ground, we execute. And so as it relates to pressure, and I take it that you're talking pressure in terms of security of tenure.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned, that has not been expressed to me by my chairman or the board. So I don't take that as being an issue of concern right now. What my predominant pressure issues is as a result of not being able to satisfy the distribution demand that exists. And I tell you from my own background, because of my history in terms of not having water for months, where I came from. So you can understand and empathize with what exists within the corporate area. And that's where I believe the greater burden of my pressure exists right now.
But why has the Water Commission seemed so slow to respond to these perennial crises, these recurring problems? I'll give you an example. Again, going back to the PM statement, he said the Water Commission is to look at increasing the capacity of the Hermitage storage system and look at additional storage at Mahogany Vale. One would have thought you guys would have done that years ago. Why are we hearing that you're now doing that?
So, one of the things that I wish to highlight, so there's always the need to do, and you have the best plans. However, a project is not a project unless you have the financing behind it. It is not a secret that NWC have its own challenges in identifying financing. And as it is for the last few years, NWC is, so to speak, has to secure its own financing, whether through loans or otherwise. It's not a case where we are getting, direct transfers from government to assist with some of these major projects. So yes, the plans are there. However, you can't execute unless you're able to secure funds to do that. And therefore, in our inability, so to speak, to execute on those projects is just strictly driven by lack of financial resources. And if you go further, the Prime Minister, in fact, and even when the leader of opposition spoke, it was admitted that fiscal space and all the other attendant issues with our economy in those years gone by, the financial meltdown in 2008, would have contributed significantly to even any input or any assistance that the government could have afforded NWC.
All right, let's go to the break. When we come back, we'll continue our one-on-one interview with the President of the Water Commission. Remember our hashtag TVJ All Angles. Remember as well, you can tweet me with questions for the NWC President at DJ Miller JA. Soon come.
Right now, I want some water, some water I want. You see me? More I'll get up all the evening time, come to wash all my clothes and them thing there. Tell you honest truth, can't wash. You see me? I have to get up and go, we are who you are. I live a 2 mile. I have to go all the stats to catch water. I can't bother with that. I want some water. You see me? So what about the people we are paying? Them money. Eh?
You know how much we have to pay for a drum of water? $500. $500. So we need water. We cannot bear it anymore. We need water.
How often do you buy the water?
We have to buy the water next door.
How often?
Very often. Very often.
You can't get to wash the dishes as you would when you have running water. You have to be catching bucket to flush the toilet. You can't do things that you would normally do when you have water, and it's very upsetting. You have to go down the road, to go catch one pan, to go bathe, and you know, some people, it's uncomfortable basically.
Long time I'll be it, you know.
Water different, man.
Water all brown and sitting. I stop drink all pipe water, cause pipe water you kick it and boil. Look, when you boil it, it's still brown. Nothing no change. Water still brown, so we can't even drink it all. The picnic them catch running belly and a bag of sitting. So just want NWC do some better changes and maybe get some good clean water for drink.
Every day I have to carry water home. Show them the water, sir. I have to carry home water. I have to pay a cat man. Come for your money. I have to pay a cat man to carry it for me. And the taxi fare is not this. I have to pay $500 every day to carry home some water. This is so bad. No water at all. From September we don't have no water. No water. This is bad. This is bad in Towile area. This is very, very bad. When you turn the pipe, not even a little drain of water. No water.
Problem can do better. NWC can do better. So God, that you one spoon I up there, right now I'm afraid. I have to go beg my neighbors so she can give me a cook to the because I don't want none. Not even a spoon. Same thing last night, same thing again.
While there is a fire around my area, what's going to happen if the fire brigade can't get no water? Eh? What are they going to do about that?